Hello! So I thought I'd do a video about my portfolio that got me into contour fashion at the London Contour Fashion and DeMontfort. I have firmed DeMontfort as my choice, but it was a really hard choice between them. I really liked both unis. And I thought it might just be useful and interesting if you're applying to study a fashion course in general, a creative course in general, or specifically contour fashion, even though it is a very niche subject, to see what someone else's portfolio looks like that got in. And I thought I'd just kind of explain a bit through the portfolio, although I don't want to spend too much time talking on each slide because I feel like sometimes you just want to look through it to get an idea, and obviously everyone's stuff is going to be slightly different anyway depending on your course and just depending on what art you've done so far and if you've done art for A-level or textiles for A-level or whatever. And I think there's lots of different versions of portfolios that would get in. I don't think there's one set portfolio that they want really, because it just depends on the person. And also I'll just, as I'm going through it, I'll just give any tips that I can think of that help me. Also, just a tip, the university will usually give you a kind of range of pages that they'd want to see in a portfolio, and don't be afraid to be on the lower end or in the middle. I'd say if anything it's better not to max it out to the amount that they said is the top they'd want. Obviously you can, but don't be afraid of cutting stuff down so that it shows your best, because it's better to show your best work and only show say 15 pages than to show 25 or something but have a couple of pieces in there that aren't as impactful and don't show off your work as well, because in the end they are kind of trying to see how you can kind of sort through your work and pick out the best of your work as well. Just before we start, I just wanted to quickly put in my personal statement just here. If you want to pause it and read it, then you're welcome to. I thought it was just useful to be able to see a personal statement for a creative subject, just because I feel like they're sometimes more difficult to find online, examples of personal statements that have been successful, especially in contour fashion. I didn't find anything, and I feel like writing a creative personal statement is quite different to a personal statement for law or medicine or something. So it can be quite nice to just see an example of what someone else has done and what's worked for them. The first slide of my portfolio is just these kind of close-ups of a kind of larger abstract piece I did. I think a good tip is, if you do create something that you don't like as much in full, you can use photography to kind of get into the bit that you like the most and almost create art out of your art, which is what I did here. I thought it was just nicer to focus in on a couple of bits, and I don't know, it makes it a bit more abstract as well, and kind of the whole thing all together was a bit too much, but these nice chunks I think show off the piece well. The second slide is just these abstract landscapes that I also did in year 12. I thought it was nice just to show use of different materials and something a bit different to just traditional drawing and stuff. A lot of creative courses do really value drawing, and that's definitely something in contour fashion that they say that they want to see is good drawing skills, so obviously you can definitely put that in, but I think something like this just shows that you've got a range of skills and can work with a range of materials. And again, the close-ups of some of these sections, just because I think it draws them out. Also, something to bear in mind, which I did not realise at all, is that make sure you're ready with portfolio before you click apply on UCAS, because I thought it would be a case of oh, you click apply, and then I thought they'd wait, I thought they'd wait for the 25th of the UCAS deadline to ask for portfolios, and then at that deadline then you'd send in your portfolio. Or I thought at least they wouldn't get back to you that fast, but I feel most of it's automated, so it literally, as soon as you press on UCAS submit it, you get an email back within 24 hours saying we want a portfolio, and it usually has a time limit on the portfolio. I think my DeMontfort one, this is so long ago I can't remember stuff, I think my DeMontfort one was 14 days and the London College of Fashion one was 10, but it might be the other way around. But just make sure that you're like keeping an eye on your emails, because you don't want to accidentally miss that email and miss the deadline or something. Yeah, so this page is just the kind of initial ideas. The work I was doing at that point was to do my pole dance, and I was kind of just experimenting with the photos I'd taken. Now, I wanted to put in some drawing that wasn't like realistic drawing, but still kind of showed ability to draw figure well, especially with contour fashion. Obviously, it is to do with fitting stuff to the body, and I think it's good to show that you have an understanding of the like form of the body, and also just representation of the body through different mediums. This is the kind of design page for my spinning models that I made. I thought it was good just to show the development of the idea. I think they really like to see the development of the idea as well as the final piece, because it just shows how you go about creating your idea. And I thought this page was just interesting in like I was playing with symmetry of the pole dancer. I think it's just a nice like kind of aesthetic page in general, even though that doesn't really matter that much, and it just shows kind of the next few stages of my idea. These are what I ended up sending as my final piece, even though now I'll insert some pictures of the real ones as well, but now they're made in acrylic. But at that point we hadn't had our school did this kind of like mock exam kind of thing, even though we weren't doing an exam, but just so that we had some set time to make our final pieces for that project. And we hadn't had that day before the deadline of me submitting it, so I just submitted the models that I'd made, kind of testing my idea. And also on here you can see I submitted a YouTube link. The DeMontfort one, it didn't let you submit any video file or anything, it had to be in a PDF. So I thought a nice way to do this was just to add in a YouTube link, or you can also use a QR code. I saw someone did that and that was quite a cool idea. Whereas the London College of Fashion one, it allowed you to like insert a video. Okay, so obviously doing a fashion course, I wanted to include some of my sewing, especially because I actually didn't realise how much sewing I'd done so far in terms of clothes sewing. And obviously it's good to show your ability if you have that. They do make it quite clear that it's not necessary. If you've got the passion for the subject, then you don't necessarily need that sewing ability, because they will teach it to you. And I do know people that have been on the course previously that I spoke to on open days that said they had never sewn before they went on the course. But obviously if you do have that skill, it's great to show it. And this is just one of my favourite things that I've sewn. And I think it's very relevant with the contour fashion. And this actually is a GCSE DT project. I made a dress that, as you can see throughout the bottom, has a waterproof coat hiding the skirt, and I thought it was nice to include just because I'd mentioned it in my personal statement that I was inspired and I liked the designer Hussein Chayalan, so I thought it was good to put it in the portfolio just so you could kind of link it together. And then just a slide of general photos of stuff I'd made. These ones I just wanted to like give a quick overview of other stuff without taking up loads of pages. Life drawing is something I think really important in fashion, and especially in contour fashion. Not actually in the course, but just to show that like you can draw figures well and the understanding of the human form. It shows being able to look at something and then translate it onto the paper. These are some realistic ones that I did during the January lockdown in year 12. Obviously I want to show that I have the skill of drawing realistically, and I like these ones because they're just a bit different with the torn paper and stuff. And these are kind of continuation of, we were just studying like hands and feet, so it's still got that like link to human form, which I think is really nice. But it shows a bit of experimentation, different materials in here, and also drawing with colour I think is quite interesting. Something that they both want you to have in contour fashion, and I'm imagining in other creative degrees, is an understanding of designers. You can show your understanding of this a bit in your personal statement, but I think it's nice because your personal statement is so short and there's so much to talk about. It's nice to be able to just like show it in your portfolio as well, and it is something that they ask to see in your portfolio. So this is just on a digital fashion company, which I just thought was really interesting, especially at the moment with like NFTs and all of that. It's quite interesting in terms of sustainability as well, and I didn't know whether I would get invited to interview or not. In the end, I didn't get invited to interview for either of them. I just got my offer straight away. But say I had to do an interview, it's quite nice to be able to link that to sustainability. And sustainability is a very important part of fashion courses at the moment. And then this is just a page on Iris van Herpen, whose work I really like, and I think it's quite linked to contour fashion in the way, just the kind of intricacy of her designs, the way she like amplifies the form of the body. These are just a couple of my designs that I've made. Both of these kind of things I mentioned in my portfolio, and yeah, I think it was quite nice to show the designs that I'd done previously in the year, just to show that I already have passion for this course, the contour course specifically, rather than just a wider passion in sewing and art. And this is why I left these photos until this point, because they are more linked to contour fashion in types of, this is some swimwear that I've made, and also that top is like more contour fashion based. This is quite a large piece that I did in charcoal and one that I did in ink. I think it's obviously nice to show still life with the same kind of being able to translate what you see onto paper, and showing that I can use different materials to still create a good outcome. This slide is just more still life stuff. That one doesn't look like anything, the green one, but it's actually a piece of cardboard like ripped open, and a piece of fabric that I also just did randomly. And this is my EPQ, and in my EPQ I was designing a 40 square metre multifunction apartment, as you can see by the title there. And these are just the rendered images of this like apartment that I designed. And I did include a couple of the SketchUp images as well. This was more to show my thought of sustainable materials rather than the apartment design, because as you can see it's all annotated with the materials I use, just to show again my interest in sustainability and kind of the depth of research I did into each element of the apartment to make it sustainable. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope it helped, and if you are applying to any creative courses, please message me down below if you have any other questions. I feel like there's lots of stuff I didn't say in this video that I could help with, but genuinely, like, it was such a process that I had no idea what I was doing, so I hope this video has helped kind of give you an idea of what they'd expect and how I was successful, especially without having done a foundation year. In my case, I just got the offer straight from A-levels. Thank you for watching. Bye!